For most of my life, I thought happiness in retirement would come easy. After decades of working, raising a family, building a life, it just made sense that peace would follow. But it didn't. Not right away. The quiet was louder than I expected. The days were longer. The pace was slower. And for a while, I felt a little lost. I realized that retirement isn't just the end of work. It's the beginning of a very different kind of living. And over time, through long walks, still mornings, and simple conversations, I began to uncover something deeper. Not flashy, not complicated, just true. So today, I want to share with you 9 lessons that helped me find happiness in this season of life. Not theories, not advice from books, but truths I've come to know from living through them. And I hope, as you hear them, they meet you where you are, whether you're newly retired or have been for years, because joy doesn't fade with age. Sometimes it just takes a little longer to find. 1. You do not need a purpose. You need presence. For years, I believed that the moment I retired, I needed a plan, a big one. I needed a new goal, a fresh project, something to chase, because for most of my life, I was measured by what I did. The job titles, the responsibilities, the daily grind. The purpose gave me structure. It gave me direction. And then one day it was gone. At first, I tried to recreate it. I filled up my calendar. I signed up for volunteer work, hobbies, side projects. I thought keeping busy would bring back the sense of meaning I had lost. But here is what I discovered. Being busy is not the same as being fulfilled. I remember one morning sitting at the kitchen table, coffee in hand, sun coming through the window, and for the first time, I had nowhere to be. No calls, no tasks, no pressure, and instead of enjoying it, I felt anxious, like I was wasting time. But then, something inside me shifted. I stopped looking for the next thing and just started paying attention to what was already here. The quiet became comforting. The smell of the coffee, the way the light changed throughout the day, the rhythm of my own breath. These small things, once overlooked, became deeply grounding. I began walking without a destination, eating slower, listening more, not because it was productive, but because it was present. See, retirement does not require a new purpose. It invites a new way of being, not driven, not rushed, not defined by results, but rooted in awareness. Happiness, I have come to learn, is not in the doing. It is in the being. And presence is the door to that kind of happiness. You do not have to prove your worth anymore. You are already enough. Let yourself just be, fully, quietly, honestly. That is where peace lives now. 2. It is not who you are with, it is who you can be yourself with. There is a difference between being around people and feeling connected. I have been in rooms full of friends and still felt completely alone. And I have sat in silence with someone I trust, saying nothing, and felt entirely seen. When we are younger, we chase popularity, attention, networks. We want to be liked, respected, admired. But now what matters more to me is comfort, the kind of comfort that allows me to be completely myself. I think of my daughter. Every Sunday she calls, rain or shine. The conversations are not always long. Sometimes she tells me about a school play, a burned casserole, or the chaos of bedtime routines. But I never feel like I need to perform in those talks. I do not need to be wise. I do not need to be entertaining. I just need to show up. And she does too. That is the kind of connection that sustains us in retirement, not the ones built on shared opinions or past experiences, but the ones where you can breathe and be who you are now. No explanations needed. It might be a friend who checks in, a neighbor who waves each morning, a sibling who still calls you by your childhood nickname. The relationships that bring joy in this season of life are the ones that require nothing of us, yet offer everything. If you feel like you are surrounded by people but still lonely, Maybe it is time to find or reconnect with those who see you, not just visit you, those who accept your quiet days, your mood swings, your aches and joys alike. You do not need a big social circle to feel loved. You just need one or two people who let you be fully you. And if you are lucky enough to have even one, hold on to them. Because in the end, it is not the crowd that fills your heart. It is the connection. 3. Your peace is more valuable than being right. In my younger years, I felt a strong need to prove myself. In conversations, disagreements, even small talk, I often carried the urge to correct, to explain, to win. If someone had a different opinion, I would jump in. I thought it was important to stand my ground, to show I was informed. That I had thought things through. Especially at family dinners when politics came up or parenting styles were discussed, I was quick to share my take, sometimes too quick. But over time, and especially in retirement, I have started to ask myself a different question. Is this worth disturbing my peace? Most of the time, the answer is no. Peace, I have found, is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is strength. It is knowing you can walk away from a conversation, not because you are giving up, but because you are choosing calm over chaos. Letting someone have the last word is not losing. It is liberating. I still have opinions. I still care about things. But I do not need to turn every moment into a debate. I have learned that silence is often more powerful than speaking. A smile, more disarming than an argument. The people who matter most to me now are not impressed by how right I am. They are drawn to how present I am, how kind, how at ease. Even with myself, I have had to let go of being right. The inner critic, the voice that reminds me of past mistakes, regrets. I have learned to say, "You're not helping." Because inner peace means forgiving not just others, but yourself. So if you find yourself in a moment where you want to be right, ask yourself, is it worth it? And if it is not, let it go. Choose peace. Protect it like it is sacred, because it is. 4. Routine is not boring. It is a sacred rhythm. When I was working, my days were dictated by the clock. Alarms in the morning, meetings at 9, lunch at noon, emails piling up all day. Even at home, there was always something to do. Dinner to cook, bills to pay, chores that never ended. Life was full, but not always full of meaning. So when I retired, I thought I would break free from all that. I would sleep in, go wherever I wanted, do whatever I pleased. And for a while I did. But eventually, the days started blending together. Without any structure, I began to feel untethered. It surprised me. I thought freedom meant doing nothing on purpose. But what I discovered was this: a little rhythm, a simple routine, is not restriction. It is comfort. These days, I have my own pace. I wake up early, not because I have to, but because I like to. I open the curtains, stretch a little, make my tea, and sit by the window to watch the world wake up. I water the same plants. I take the same short walk around the block. Some might say it is repetitive, but to me, it is sacred. These small rituals give shape to my day. They anchor me. They remind me that life does not need to be exciting to be meaningful. There is quiet joy in familiarity. When everything else in life feels uncertain, when health changes, when loved ones move away or pass on, your routine becomes a quiet companion. And it is not about how busy it is. In fact, the slower, the better. One of my favorite parts of the day is when I make breakfast. Just some toast, maybe an egg, and eat it slowly while reading or listening to music. No rushing, no multitasking. Just one thing at a time. If you are newly retired and feel a little lost, I encourage you to create a rhythm. It does not need to be perfect or rigid, just consistent. Choose small things that feel good to repeat. A morning walk, a cup of tea at the same hour, a call to a friend every Friday. Because routine is not just about passing time, It is about honoring time. And in that sacred rhythm, you will find peace, purpose, and maybe even a little joy. 5. Your story still matters. Share it. There was a time I believed that once you reached a certain age, your story had already been told, that the big moments were behind you, that the world had moved on, and now it was time to sit quietly on the sidelines. But I have come to see things differently. The truth is, your story never stops mattering, and neither do you. Every wrinkle on your face holds a memory. Every scar on your heart carries a lesson. Every loss, every victory, every small act of courage, together, they form a life that someone out there needs to hear about. When I tell stories to my grandkids, it is not always about teaching them something. Sometimes it is just to remind myself that I lived through things, that I overcame, that I felt love and pain and wonder. And sometimes, in the middle of a story I have told a dozen times, I discover a new truth. That is the beauty of sharing. It helps you process too. You do not need a microphone or an audience. You do not need a book deal or a blog. Just speak. Share. Tell your children about your first job. Tell your friends about that road trip you took in your 20s. Write letters to people who mattered to you. Record your voice. Keep a journal. Pass down recipes. Because the world is full of noise, but it is short on wisdom. And that is something you have in abundance. The younger generation needs your voice, not to lecture, but to light the path, to remind them that life is messy and beautiful and survivable. And even if no one listens right away, even if you feel like your story is small, it still matters, because the act of telling it honors the life you lived, and in that telling, you are seen. So speak, share. Remember, your story is not over. It is just changing chapters. 6. Stay curious. Your soul still wants to grow. I used to think that learning was for the young. That curiosity belonged to children and students and people just starting out. But one of the most beautiful surprises of retirement has been realizing that my curiosity never left me. I just stopped listening to it for a while. It started with something small. I walked past the local community center one day and saw a sign for a watercolor class. I paused. I had never painted before, not once. But something in me said, why not? So I signed up. I was the oldest person in the room by a couple of decades. My hands were shaky. My clouds looked like blobs. But I laughed. I asked questions. I tried again. And you know what? I felt more alive in those 2 hours than I had in weeks. Because when we stop learning, we stop expanding. Our world gets smaller. We settle into habits, thoughts, and assumptions that no longer serve us. But when we stay curious, we stay open. We let wonder in again. It does not have to be a class. It can be a new book, a new walk, a new recipe, a new perspective. Curiosity is not just about knowledge. It is about spirit. It is the part of you that still believes in possibility. Even now, I look things up just to understand. I listen to music I never gave a chance before. I ask younger people what they think and really listen, not to judge, but to learn. Curiosity reminds me that I am not finished. I am still unfolding. I am still becoming, and I hope I never lose that, because staying curious keeps the soul young, and no matter how old the body gets, the soul still wants to grow. 7. You are allowed to be happy, just because. There is something many of us carry into retirement that we rarely talk about, the feeling that we need a reason to be happy, that we have to earn it somehow. That joy must be the reward for hard work, success, or for checking every box. And if you are not doing anything productive, if you are not giving or fixing or helping someone else, then you start to wonder, do I still deserve to feel good? I have felt that. There were days I sat in a quiet house, sipping my tea, Sun pouring through the windows, birds singing outside. Everything was calm. Everything was good. But there was a strange little voice inside that said, "You should be doing more." So, I would try to justify my happiness. I would think to myself, well, I did take care of the yard this week, or I called the kids yesterday, as if peace needed permission, as if joy needed to be earned like a paycheck. But here is what I have come to believe, and I want you to hear this clearly. You are allowed to be happy, just because. Not because you helped someone, not because you accomplished something, not because you made it through another week, just because you are here, just because your heart is still beating, just because the breeze feels good and your coffee is warm and the morning is quiet and gentle. There is nothing selfish about feeling good for no particular reason. In fact, it is one of the purest forms of gratitude. I think sometimes we confuse happiness with celebration. We think we need a birthday, an anniversary, a promotion, a grandchild being born, something big to justify joy. But joy does not need fireworks. It often shows up in the smallest of ways. The smell of bread baking, a song on the radio, the first time you laughed that day. And when you give yourself permission to feel that joy without guilt, without needing to explain it, you begin to unlock a kind of freedom you might not have known before. No one else can give you that permission. You have to claim it yourself. And the beautiful truth is, you can. Right now. Today. It is okay to feel good even when the world feels heavy. It is okay to smile even if there are still problems in your life. It is okay to laugh at a silly joke even if your heart has known grief. Happiness does not mean everything is perfect. It simply means you are open to the beauty that still exists in your life, no matter how small. Sometimes I sit on the back porch with no plan for the day, and I just let the warmth of the moment wash over me. No shame, no rush. Just me, the world, and the quiet truth that I am still allowed to feel joy. You are too. So go ahead. Let yourself smile without a reason. Let yourself enjoy something ordinary. Let yourself breathe in peace and say, "This is enough." Because happiness is not a reward. It is a right. And you, my friend, still have full access to it. Simplicity. It's the gateway to peace. If you had walked into my house 20 years ago, you would have seen shelves packed with books I never finished, closets full of clothes I hardly wore, and drawers that could barely close because of all the just-in-case items I was holding on to. There were gadgets in the kitchen I did not remember buying, stacks of mail I never sorted, and plans written in planners that I abandoned halfway through the year. I was living under the weight of too much noise, too many things, too many thoughts. Back then, I thought having more would bring me peace. A bigger television, a better car, a packed schedule, a fridge full of options. I thought abundance meant security, that having more choices meant more freedom. But somewhere along the way, I started to feel trapped in the very life I had built. And when I retired, the silence only made it louder. I remember one day standing in my kitchen, holding a drawer full of mismatched utensils, and thinking to myself, why am I keeping all of this? So I started small. I cleared one drawer, then a shelf, then a closet. Not just the physical space, but the mental clutter too. And something unexpected happened. With every item I let go of, I felt a little lighter. Because simplicity is not just about things. It is about space. Space to breathe. Space to think. Space to feel. These days, I find joy in the most ordinary things. A clean countertop, one pair of shoes that I actually wear, a quiet room with no television on. I used to fill my time with busy work. Now I take my time making tea. I sit down when I eat. I enjoy one book instead of juggling 5. Simplicity has taught me that less is not empty. Less is calm. Less is freedom. Less is clarity. There is peace in not always being reachable. There is comfort in knowing what you have and where it is. There is joy in not needing something new to feel satisfied. You do not have to downsize your whole life overnight. Just start noticing what actually adds value and what just takes up space. Ask yourself, do I use this? Do I love this? Does this make my life easier or better? If not, maybe it is time to let it go. And the same goes for your schedule. You do not have to say yes to every invitation. You do not have to fill every minute of the day. It is okay to say no. It is okay to rest. Peace grows in the quiet, in the space between obligations, in the moments when you are not chasing the next thing, and when you create a life with more room. Room in your home, in your mind, and in your heart. You will be surprised by what gently moves in. Gratitude, stillness, presence. That is the gift of simplicity. Not just a cleaner life, but a deeper one. So let it be simple. Let it be soft. Let it be slow. You are not missing out. You are making space to finally feel what has been there all along. Peace. 9. Love never expires. Oh, give it freely. I used to think that love had seasons, that it bloomed in our youth, settled in middle age, and quietly faded as we got older. Maybe that was the story I saw in movies. Maybe it was just what I assumed love looked like once the children were grown, once the house got quieter, once the years piled up. But the truth is, love does not retire. It does not run out. It does not age the way our bodies do. If anything, it grows deeper, softer, quieter perhaps, but stronger in a way that only time and life can teach. These days, I no longer show love with grand gestures. There are no big anniversaries to plan, no career milestones to celebrate, no school plays to attend, but there is still so much love in my life. I feel it when I write birthday cards to my grandchildren, when I send a message to a friend I have not spoken to in a while, when I cook something warm and familiar, even if it is just for myself. I feel it when I wave to my neighbor every morning, when I hold the door for a stranger, when I whisper a quiet prayer for someone going through something hard. These small acts may seem ordinary, but they are love. Love is not just for romantic relationships. It is not just for holidays or anniversaries. Love is for every day. And the beautiful thing about love at this stage of life is that it asks nothing in return. It does not try to impress. It does not need to prove itself. It simply gives, freely, gently, consistently. And in that giving, something beautiful happens. Your heart stays open. You stay connected to the world around you. You remember that you still matter, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. Even if you live alone, even if the phone does not ring as often as it used to, even if you do not hear, "I love you" every day, you can still give love. And every time you do, you bring light into someone else's life and into your own. Love is not a limited resource. The more you give, the more it seems to grow. I once read that the final stage of wisdom is kindness. I believe that, because when we reach this part of life, we begin to see what truly matters. And it is not the arguments won, or the possessions owned, or the titles earned. It is the moments of connection, the tenderness shared, the hand held, the kind words spoken. You do not need to wait for someone to ask. You do not need a special occasion. Just give love wherever and however you can. Smile at the grocery clerk. Compliment a stranger. Call someone just to say hello. Write a note. Say thank you. Say I miss you. Say I forgive you. Because love at any age is still love, and love given freely is never wasted. It keeps us human. It keeps us whole. And most of all, it keeps us alive in the ways that matter most. If you've made it this far, thank you. Truly. You've just heard 9 quiet truths that I've learned, not from books, not from experts, but from living, from sitting with silence, from letting go, from loving deeply, and yes, from losing too. I don't share these things because I think I know it all. I share them because I've walked through enough years to see what matters last. And my hope is that somewhere in these words you felt seen, maybe even a little less alone. Because retirement is not an ending. It is not an empty space. It is a sacred chapter all its own. One where you are allowed, fully allowed, to slow down, to feel more, to choose peace, and to keep becoming who you were always meant to be. You are still here. That means your joy is still here. Your voice is still needed. Your presence still matters. So take what spoke to you today. Carry it gently into your day. And if you feel moved to do so, share this video with someone else who may need to hear it too. From my heart to yours, thank you for listening. I'll be here whenever you're ready to sit down and talk again. Until then, take good care of yourself. You've earned that, and so much more.